The woman in red let go of the cat's collar, and the big boy sat patiently beside her, relenting to her control. Slowly, the woman in red hitched up her nightgown and stepped up onto the windowsill, her bare feet laced with the same sinuous tattoos that lined her arms and hands. She methodically unlatched the heavy metal locks on the windows, never taking her eyes off of Blue. There were 3 locks, and by the time she'd reached the 3rd latch at her feet, she was still steadily aiming the gun at Blue's heart. The iron hinges of the windows groaned as she opened them. They were taller than she was, wooden and glass, their panes framed in muntin. She stood in the window with the firelight behind her, its warmth from the kitchen hearth spilling out into the cool night and washing over Blue. He was engulfed by the heat, the smell of the bread, and the presence of the strange woman. Blue began to feel himself drifting, disassembling into the pleasant sensations around him. He was becoming lost in the beauty of it all. The woman's gaze pierced him to his core, immobilizing him. Her strange power fascinated and terrified Blue. The enchantress's gown billowed out into the night as her arm remained outstretched, aimed at Blue. She shifted her gaze from his eyes to his wet and muddied torso, then down to his muscled legs. "Do you know what you're looking for?" she asked. Blue stood, shivering and eyes wide, at a loss for words. He was brimming with feelings that he couldn't express with words. And so, overcome by the wild woman's power, the welcoming heat of the fire, and the sweet aromas surrounding him, Blue fainted into the mud beneath the moon. Suds, perfume, smoke, and blackness. The woman's green eyes feasted themselves on Blue's dreaming body. He drifted in and out of consciousness, assembling and disassembling his waking dreams. "Mona," he whispered. "Mona." Blue's eyes flickered and closed, chunks of time-space caught between blinks. "Don't wander too far," he thought, clenching his fists in the darkness. Blue released his eyes open to find himself lying on a couch in the city of Crete, cleaned and clothed. Across from him sat the most beautiful woman who'd been watching him silently. "Hello, Blue," said the woman in red. Her eyes shone in the candlelight as she leaned in, peering into Blue's essence. Suddenly he felt naked. "Do you know where you are?" she asked. Blue shook his head. She smiled. Her body, her smell, her presence were all intoxicating to Blue. Not knowing what to say or do, he lay there frozen against the cushions in the warm, candlelit room. Blue's eyes moved slowly about the space, noticing unique features that gave him hints about his host's intentions. He was lying in a sort of living room, a dark maroon wallpaper with felt patterns wrapped the walls of the space. Black sconces with candles dripping blood-red wax clung to the walls. A roaring fire sat nestled in the corner, casting shadows against bricks and iron tools. The woman watched Blue as he watched the room, the air between them bending to their individual wills, transforming the shared moment. There were stacks of papers throughout the room, some reaching a few feet high. On tables, floors, and chairs, candlelight shone through translucent pages that were strewn about. Delicate, inked writings covered them. When I was a little girl, the woman began, I used to go to the woods and disappear. Blue looked around at the walls, not seeing any pictures or mirrors. Some of the corners of the room were so deep in shadow that they completely disappeared into blackness. She continued, I liked the woods because there I was hidden. No one could see me or know what I was doing. Do you like secrets, Blue? Blue began to notice how warm he felt beneath the heavy blanket that the woman had placed over him. The cat sat in the shadows eyeing him, glued to the woman's side like a Cheshire gargoyle. Its orange eyes glowed like jack-o'-lanterns in the firelight. Blue tried to move his arms to sit up, but realized he couldn't. A tinge of panic set in when he realized he couldn't move his legs either. Blue began to feel stifled, the victim of an unwanted embrace. Maybe everyone needs someone to hate, said the woman as she noticed the panic in Blue's eyes. The black sheep of the world, a scapegoat, she went on. Blue began looking around chaotically, trying to will himself to stand. The woman watched as beads of sweat collected on his forehead. His mouth felt numb, like it was miles away. He could not conjure words or sounds. Slowly, the red woman rose in front of him. She stood with her gown spilling out around her, layers of red satin shimmering in the light. Her eyes reflected the blaze back into Blue's own terrified orbs. For a moment, she appeared to almost levitate. Secrets play hide and seek in the woods, Blue, and I always find them. She hovered towards him, arms outstretched. I find them because I know the woods. Suddenly, the woman lurched forwards, her hands clutching Blue's face. The firelight in her eyes jumped into Blue's own, and he felt the heat surge within him. Her hair stood on end, eyes wild and staring into Blue. To wake and find how the world has changed. Where have you been sleeping, Blue? The woman's heat coursed through his body, igniting him from within. He lay motionless on the couch, seized by the rivers of energy moving through him. There's time and space enough to become what we must, poor Blue. The boundaries are only our shadows, hidden corners that dance with our light. With my own light, and now with yours, there are no shadows, no secrets, only true power. The woman reached out, seizing violently at Blue's chest. Show me your secrets, Blue. His eyes filled with horror as the red woman pulled, wrenching the light from his body. Blue's world disappeared as his light was swallowed up inside the red woman's fiery, dark sanctum.